and they came to a reconstructed dinosaur, and know how they found one bone and make up the rest of it so that they have a big dinosaur. Well, the guide said this dinosaur was 2,006 years old. Of course, the crowd looked at him in amazement, and one uh, extrovert said, "What do you mean? 2,006 years old? Where did you get the six?" Well, the guide said, "When I came to work here 6 years ago, it was 2 million years old. Now it is 2,006 years old." My friend, that shows you the utter ridiculousness. All this dating, which goes back millions of years, can really become. Now, actually, um, it's Lucy. They found a skull bone, which is a piece about the size of a dollar, silver dollar, I think, a skull bone here, and it was deformed. And they come up with this whole monkey that's supposed to be the ancestor of us all out of Africa. It's and that's where that they uh, get this thing. Now, I've in math, I have seen the formula they use for counting the isotopes is carbon 14 dating. There's 14 isotopes spinning around the carbon nucleus, and they count the how many electrons that are left, and that tells them how old that the object is. Well, it's the problem is it's what we call a taxi cab uh, formula. In other words, you have zero, and then you jump up, and then you'll have, I don't know what, 200 years, and then you jump up, and you have 2,000 years. You jump up. It's along an exponential curve. So the difference between 2 million years, if you're off by, if it's a 95% confidence interval, you're off, by half. And so it's a ridiculous calculation, and they have taken they've disproved it many times by taking things they know the age of absolutely and carbon dating them and finding that it's always a lot older than it was, uh, of course, because it's missing that other isotope. Faith means that you have a solid basis for the origin of the universe. I won't have to change my theory as scientific knowledge grows. It has been in operation a long time. God created the heaven and the earth. We come now to consider the faith of individuals. I want to give you a quotation from The Triumphs of Faith by Dr. G. Campbell Morgan, which is fitting at this point. He said, "Life is to be mastered by faith and not by doubt. It is to be uh, forevermore illuminated by hope and not darkened by despair. And in its activity, love is to be practiced in fellowship." We are going to see this illustrated as we consider the lives of these people. Faith is not some jewel like a diamond, which you put in a case and look at. It is the reason I do not want to call this chapter a catalog of the heroes of faith. These are men and women who got down, right down to the nitty gritty of life. Faith was operative in their lives. Faith is not something which you put on display in a showcase. Faith rests upon the word of God. We are given here the experience of three individuals who lived before the flood, in antediluvians, we call them. One of them even lived through the flood and after it. Abel is the first, and in him you have the way of faith. And then Enoch, we have the walk of faith, and Noah, we have the witness of faith. These men lived before the flood, and faith was in operation at that time. These men walked by faith, lived by faith, and were saved by faith. And that concludes that section. Now we're going to move on to the